before we get into gaming, I am going to tell a cop story. This, I don't know if you can see it. This is actually the Medal of Valor. It's a local Medal of Valor. It's not a military Medal of Valor, but this is the Medal of Valor that I won, or that I earned. I'm going to tell a story about how I earned that. And this probably won't be the only time I'll tell this story. It does kind of look like a commie flag. Let me get some music going in here. All right, story time. Story time. It's time for a cop story, because you guys need a good cop story. And honestly, I don't mind sharing here recently, as of recently. So it was I had a trainee. It was a trainee training person. It was a Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. It was around 11 o'clock. And we get a call. We get a call for shots fired. No, it was a noise complaint. Initially, it was a noise complaint. First call came in. Generally, when you get a call for that, it's like, okay, cool, noise complaint. It's Sunday morning, people in church. There's probably an outdoor service or something going on. And so then we get another caller in that also says, hey, there's something going on over here, but they're whispering on the phone with 911. Now, one of the indicators, especially for me, just from my experience, is that when someone's whispering on the phone, a lot of times that can indicate that there's the threat of being caught or the threat of being heard. Well, I guess kind of same. So that kind of, the fact that now you have more than one call and you have a caller who's on the line whispering, that kind of amps things up. And then in the area of the town where it was kind of like, okay, kind of amped up. So I looked at my trainee. My trainee was driving that day. I said, hey, trainee. So I told him, I said, hey, brother. I was like, I don't mind laying on the sword for this one, but this looks like it's the real deal. You need to go ahead and turn your lights and siren on. We need to get over there. So he turns on his lights and sirens. We were like 2 miles away, I think, maybe less than that. He turns on lights and siren. He's focused on driving. I get on the radio. I put us en route, put us on the call. We're going, and I can't really go into. I don't want to go into too much detail. But when we pull up, as we're turning into the parking lot of this was like a commerce center. As we're turning in, I'm hearing gunshots, pow, 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 and I'm like, in my mind, at this point, I had already been through an officer-involved shooting. I already kind of had that under my belt. So to speak. And I was like, I thought to myself, oh no, not again. And then I remember he was pulling up. I said, park right there, because there was another cruiser that had pulled up. I said, pull up next to that cruiser. And our rifles were stowed. Well, my rifle was stowed up top. And so the rifles are on an automatic lock, like a pneumatic lock. So you push the button, then you have to reach up to grab it. So I push the button, I reach up, I grab it. Rack the charging handle, and I looked at the trainee. I promise you, this is the last conversation he and I ever had. I said, hey, it's about to get. I was like, it's about to get weird. I said, keep your head on a swivel. I don't know where they are. And then I ran as fast as I could to get to where the point was. And when I got up there was a guy who had been shot in the chest. I think there were some other injuries, some other minor injuries. And there was a guy on his phone yelling, we don't need the police. We don't need the police. We need an ambulance. We need an ambulance. And I remember I saw a guy laying on the ground, another guy that had been shot, and he was laying there, and he had a gun on the ground next to him. Obviously, this was the shooter. And so since I had my rifle, my buddy was next. I probably should have said his name, but my buddy was next to me. I said, are you good? He said, yeah, I'm good. Now, when I lock in, I'm going to look at the threat. So I don't need to look at you to talk to you. My wife used to get mad all the time because I would talk to her and I'd be talking like this. Because I'm talking to you, but I'm looking over here. I'm doing something else. I'm collecting information elsewhere. And so I didn't take my eyes from behind that optic. I told him, I was like, look, dude, you need to go. I said, you need to get this guy off my back. Because the guy's like, we don't need the police. The dude, obviously, anti-police. That's his right, whatever. And so I'm looking, and both eyes open. I'm looking through the optic, and I'm looking at him. And the guy that's shot is like looking around, like almost like he was looking for an escape. So I was about to start giving commands, but I heard someone else giving commands. So whenever I'm collecting information, always do this. I take my time, take a deep breath, let it out real slow. That way I can see, I can hear, I can collect information. And so I'm thinking like, dang, here it is a Sunday and I'm about to catch some hot lead in my butt cheeks. Thinking that the dude's just going to, from behind me, just, oh, that sounds terrible. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. I'm watching the guy and he's like kind of shifting around, but he's not moving away from the gun that he just used to shoot this guy with. So essentially it was an active shooter as I pulled up on scene. I'm talking to myself and I'm like, all right. I was like, he's not going to get a shot off. The shooting I had before that, the guy actually fired 6 rounds. And I was like, you know what? He's not going to get a shot off. This dude is not going to get. I cannot go home and tell my wife. So they're giving commands, and I'm listening. And he looks directly at me. I'll never forget the look on this guy's face. He looks directly at me like I just kicked his dog. The dude looked at me and was not happy. Keep in mind, he had already been shot at least once. And he's laying on the ground and he's bleeding. And he looks at me, and then he looks down at the gun. And I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, brother. So he looks down at the gun. And so the dude looks at me and then literally reaches for the gun. At this time, everything slows down. He looks at me, and then he goes to reach. And I see his shoulders come up off the ground because he's laying on his back. Come up off the ground, and he's reaching. I rotated that selector from safe to semi. And I punched out and went to work. I'm not going to talk about the number of rounds. I'm not going to talk about, everything else. But, when it slows down like that and you shoot a person, just at least from my personal experience, you can actually see the rounds hitting him. And so, no, it wasn't a full mag. It definitely wasn't a full mag. It was enough to eliminate the threat. And I saw one of my rounds hit him. After, rounds are kind of going down range, the guy kind of rolls over and starts to crawl away. This is a big dude. Starts to crawl away. Once I determined there's enough space between him and the gun and I can get to him, I said, hey, arrest team, because I knew I had guys there. We ran up. I slung my rifle. We ran up. I took out, I've shown you, the guys who've been here for a while, you've seen my fixed blade, my K-bar knife. Take that knife out, and I cut his shirt and cut off his pants, and I can see holes. And I'm like, okay, we got to start patching him up. But so we start patching him up. Well, whenever you have the entry wounds on the front, you have to roll them over. And so we kind of C-spined him and rolled him over. And this is how I know, like, I got issues, man. Like, but the first thought I had, I don't know if you guys, my first thought is just from the amount of blood and what I could see looking into the wounds, the exit wounds. I literally said out loud, my buddy told me I said this. I said, we're going to need a bigger boat. Do you guys remember in Jaws when they realized the size of Jaws? What did he say? We're going to need a bigger boat. Right when I said that, I look up and I see the medics pulling up. And somehow someone handed me a chest seal that was like, it was so old and had sat in a car and gotten like dry rot. It was like stuck to the paper. I made it work. Slapped on some chest seals and got them sealed up on the front and the back until the medics got there. And then I ran over to the door of the building because I knew that there was one guy that had been shot outside. I go running to the door because I don't know if there's anybody shot inside. And sure enough, by that time there were higher ups showing up on scene, and they were like, "Who shot?" And we told him, there was a few of us that ended up pulling the trigger. And he said, all right, I need your guns and you guys have to wait. And I'm like, there's still work to be done. He said, I need your guns and you have to wait because the investigation starts immediately. I go over to my car and my buddy who I told there was some other stuff in there, but my buddy who I told to step to the side and take care of the guy behind me, he was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, here's exactly what you need to do. I told him, I said, call your wife. I said, the sheriff's office is going to put out a statement on Facebook, a happening now statement. Call your wife, tell her that you're okay, and that, you might be a little late getting home because you got to help out with some, just let her know that you just got stuff to do around the office. And so he ended up doing that. And then we went back to the office and it was a long day. When I tell you, like, and I was a little bit older when this happened. So I didn't deal with the adrenaline dump as well as I had in the past. And generally when I have like a severe adrenaline dump, I like get the shakes. I kind of like, my body temperature goes up. It's really weird. So, but, yeah. So from that incident, the guy that got shot, the guy that the suspect shot, he actually ended up passing away. So that's how I got this. That's how I got this Medal of Valor. This is my only Medal of Valor. I didn't deploy 20 times and hunt Zarqawi, but I got the award, got the Medal of Valor. So